In my bio, I have a quote from Henry Miller, and it goes, "To paint is to love again, and to love is to live life to the fullest." And it's kind of like having a love affair. That whole giddy, amazing feeling, that hot flush, that rush, that's what if I hit the mark, that's how I feel. And that's how I want the buyer, the customer, the client, the viewer to get that too. I was born in Seattle, but at an early age, I moved to Florida with my family and continued to spend winters in Florida and summers in Spearfish, South Dakota. I kind of call my work tropical Western wildlife because the tropical part is from the tropical colors in Florida. And living in the hills, which I do now still, is where most of my subject matter comes from. I didn't really do anything artistic until I was in college. I went to college to the University of Florida to become a neurosurgeon because they have a really good medical school. After a couple of years of pre-med, I wasn't happy with the usual educational system. Like I was bored with it. And so I decided to take a class in the School of Architecture and Fine Arts just to have something hands-on to do instead of books. And I stuck with it. I majored in graphic design. In order to do it in those days, you took everything. You know, three-dimensional sculpture classes, painting classes, drawing classes, everything. And I think that was immeasurably helpful to me because I knew nothing. And I mean, I never even in my wildest dreams thought I'd be an artist. My sister was living in New York at the time, teaching at NYU. So I went to New York and I started pounding the pavement looking for a job. And I found one. I was really lucky. It was a really small advertising agency. The creative director was the art director. And that was really exciting for me because he was really creative and he liked my book. He hired me to be the art director. And by the time I left, I can't even think how many employees we had. We were producing TV ads and doing lots of print. And it was really an exciting time. My senior graphics professor said to us not long before graduation, the ultimate goal for each of you would be to become an art director for a New York City ad agency, but I'm sure none of you will ever do that. I sent him a postcard and I told him where I was working and said, nah, 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 nah. My sister has always been my very best friend, and she had married a Wyoming boy and was living in Sundance. There was a daycare center here. They had nobody doing any art kinds of things or craft kinds of things or anything with the kids. So I said to the director, I'll just volunteer. It was really fun. I didn't know that I had that thing for kids, but I do. The art teacher here at the high school was temporary, and she was a watercolor artist, and she decided to teach an adult watercolor class, and I took it, and I really, really loved it. So I started painting. I asked her what I should do next to learn more, and she said, go to Spearfish and take a class from Dick Du Bois. I took a class at the college in Spearfish, and that was really fun. And I just kept going from there. Here's my drawing board, homemade. And I got paint, as you can see, and this is my handy file for who has what painting in my life, so I can just look that up without going to my computer. And here you have pencils and brushes. These are all toothbrushes that people have given me, and they Clorox them and put them in my mailbox. The purples and the greens are currently my favorite because, and I imagine it's because I use them the most, they're the softest. I don't for sure remember. It's been quite a long time ago, and I know the first thing I used them on were bears, that they seem to work really well for bear fur. but I use them for almost everything now. Maybe because I am who I am, I said, you think I can't do this in watercolor? Just watch me. I don't know. Nobody believes I paint in watercolor. My paintings don't look like watercolor. Nobody believes that it is. People say, okay, now is this oil or acrylic? To me, the subject, the critter, is not the real subject. It's the paint. The paint is what my real subject is. That's why I like critters with texture. And big blobby critters like bears and buffalo, I really like them because there's a big blob that you can cover with texture and color and get that paint and scratch it and mark it and blob it and wipe it off and put it back on and splash it. And it's the paint. That's what it's really about to me, is the paint. Crows and ravens are my favorite birds, and they have so much history. It goes back forever. So Randy and I have been together for 22 years here at Ware's Work in Ben West Gallery. It's the longest I've been in any gallery. You have to make sure that you have a really good relationship with the people who own the galleries you're in, and you have to make sure that everything is equal.
There are 3 prints here, but they have a completely different presentation and they all have a different price. So how do you decide?
Well, this was an experiment because there are so many new ways to print. Mm-hmm. There are just all kinds of types of prints, and there are also all kinds of presentations. I'm not sure it was a really good experiment because people like them all. And I think it's really important for anybody who wants to be able to afford, if they like the work, to be able to afford something. So these are examples of earlier ones. This is 1992.
You can see the difference.
Yeah.
And the direction that you've decided to go in.
Yeah, and I'm not done yet. I hope. I'm not done yet. From the very beginning, I always still left, if I had a little sketch on there about where it was going to be, I don't erase those marks. I, in fact, sometimes actually go back in. It's kind of like the first and the last things I do. Mm-hmm. Like here on this one, these little marks were all put in at the very end. I just like to see the tracks of the artist. That's the kind of work that appeals to me too. Mm-hmm. I'm not a detail person. Chuck Close, my favorite quote is Chuck Close, who said, "Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and go to work." I mean, I love what I do. It's really fun too, but it's also work. And you have to do it because no one else can do it for you. There are days when I'm working on something and I say, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can pull this off or not. If you keep evolving with your work, that's always going to happen because you just don't want to stay the same. I think the evolution of a working artist that happens all the time. If I'm having a really simple time with a piece that I'm working on and everything's going as planned, and when I step back from it, I really like it right away, I figure I've seen it before. My favorite thing is when I step back from something and say, well, what the hell is this? That has a good meaning to me because it means I haven't seen it before. I'm onto something and it's mine. You need to have your spark. You have to be yourself. You can't just go out and paint pretty pictures, even if you're very talented. Whatever it is that makes you tick has to be on that canvas or on that surface. I've never considered myself to have an incredible God-given talent. I consider myself a hard worker. I work hard and I work continually. It's very hard work So you have to know that in advance, and you will have many failures and many no sales in the beginning. And it's hard to talk yourself into keep on going. But if it's what you really want to do, you just keep pushing, and you just keep going to your easel and going to your drawing board and doing it again. And it's a lot of work, but boy, does it pay off. It's just really exciting. It warms you from head to toe. And when you get there, you'll know it. And then you'll stumble. You won't stay there. You'll stumble. And yeah, I'm still wondering when I'm going to become a real artist.